Hi everyone, my name is Kaylee Beauregard, and today I'll be talking to you about the gene mutation STK11 and its cancer implications. So the STK11 gene, also known as LBKB1, is a tumor suppressor gene located on chromosome 19, and it is in charge of creating the enzyme called serine 309 kinase 11. So that's what the STK11 stands for. It plays a key role in cell cycle regulation and apoptotic pathways, and this includes anything from embryo development, epithelial cell polarity, apoptosis, to dynamics in hematopoietic stem cells. And these mutations allow uncontrolled cell growth, which can lead to polyps in your GI tract, and then eventually increased risk in cancer. One tidbit here, I read some studies on cervical cancer linked to the STK11 gene, and there's two types of cervical cancer. This is squamous cell carcinoma and adenocarcinoma, and the symptoms include vaginal bleeding after intercourse, in between periods, and discharge with foul odor or pelvic pain. So normal functions of the STK11 gene, when you think of a tumor suppressive gene, that really plays a vital role in our body, and the enzyme serine 309 kinase encodes for critical roles across the cell with apoptosis, regulating cell polarity, motility, differentiation, metastasis, and overall cell metabolism. And so the purpose of this gene is to regulate the cell metabolism, as I said, and to really protect against any DNA damage. How does this gene cause cancer when it has mutations? So in my research, there is really a variety of different STK11 mutations that have been studied. Many of these mutations involve small deletions or missense mutations in the catalytic kinase domain of the enzyme, while few occur in the non-catalytic terminal. This just means that there's one part of the enzyme that when it's mutated, it seems to really cause problems, and when there's another part of the enzyme that's mutated, it doesn't seem to cause any problems. So when the catalytic kinase domain does have mutations, it results in protein reduction, loss or inactivation of this STK11 gene in general. And in class, we learned a lot about loss of function mutations and how this can cause cancer. And this is what this STK11 mutation typically does. It's a loss in function mutation. Another study found that mutations on the 19th chromosome at position 13 in the form of deletions account for 30% of lung cancers. And mutations can also cause the Peutz-Jeghers syndrome, which is a condition categorized by the development of non-cancerous growth in the GI tract called hematoramus polyps. Mutations to the STK11 gene may increase risks of cancer in the breast, lungs, colon, pancreas, stomach, small intestines, cervix, ovaries, and uterus. Symptoms typically go unnoticed in the early stages. In a study of Japanese women found that mutations of this gene can actually cause worse prognosis in cervical cancer of patients. Mutation to this gene has also been linked to the Peutz-Jeghers syndrome, a condition characterized by the development of non-cancerous growth in the GI tract forming polyps, and this is an autosomally dominant inheritance pattern. So treatment plans for carriers of this mutated gene focus on ways of targeting the mutations through associated pathways. Some progress has been made in targeting pathway components, such as inhibiting proliferation-associated mutations in the LKB1, such as the mTORC1, and correcting disturbed cell metabolic signaling, such as glycolysis. And this mTOR inhibitor works to interact and suppress kinase activity and induces autophagy and apoptosis to slow down inactivation, and this has been found in cervical cancers. So when I was doing some research, I actually found open clinical trials for people with the STK11 mutation, which I thought was interesting. One of these trials is called PROMPT, so Prospective Registry of Multiplex Testing. It's an online registry whose goal is to help researchers better understand risks linked to mutations in less well-studied genes. And it said that people specifically with this mutation should enroll in the program. A second clinical trial that's currently happening is hereditary gastric cancer syndromes, an integrated genomic and clinopathic study of predisposition to gastric cancers. And like I said earlier in the presentation, this mutation really causes a lot of things to happen in the body. And the eligibility for this clinical trial is ages 2 and up, with personal or family history of hereditary gastric cancer, including genes that change or lead to gastric cancer, or any of these hereditary lesions. Interestingly, this study has been done since 2017 and it's an open study, and it's not set to finish until 2026. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit on just how long these studies can take over time, because that's 9 whole years dedicated to this type of cancer. And the third study I found was basically a general study on identifying and analyzing families with genetic susceptibility to cancer.